and welcome to another plan with me. If you're new here, my name is Raza and I create bullet journal spreads every month. I cannot believe it's already February. For this month, instead of the usual love or hearts inspired theme, I decided to go for a fairy tale inspired theme based off a book. So if you're curious to know where this theme is from, just keep on watching. So I started this theme with a simple cover that was meant to emulate the cover page of a fairy tale book. Now I spent a lot of time looking at Pinterest pages of fairy tale book covers, and I started to notice a sort of trend. So a lot of the images that I've seen uses the serif type font that are thin and long and will usually have either borders or an intricate image beside the letters. Because I wanted to make it real easy for myself, I decided to stick to the picture of Cupid in here, and because it's the season of hearts, I thought it was the perfect image to use. So I kept my February cover page very minimal, so I only really had the title in the serif font, and I filled it out, or well, I outlined it and then I filled it out, as you could tell. And then because so the reason was I kept this minimal was because on the other side I wanted to create a code page, and if you have seen my previous videos, I usually do it the other way around and have like the month on the right and the the code page on the left. But this time I just decided to switch it around just because I felt like this was a better fit for it, or I don't know, I think it just looked much better and a little bit different and unique. So on the right side I basically had just this code page that I took from Cornelia Funk's Inkheart, and that is actually the inspiration for this theme. And so I'll just read out what the code page says. So the code page says, perhaps there's another much larger story behind the printed one, a story that changes just as our own world does, and the letters on the page tell us only as much as we'd see peering through a keyhole. Perhaps the story in the book is just the lid on a pan. It always stays the same, but underneath there's a whole world that goes on, developing and changing like our own world. So I thought that this quote was a really good, it's a very good description of imagination and just letting your mind wander and just discovering like different stories that could be hiding behind simple things. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, I felt like this was a good theme to talk about imagination and opening up your entire world, and I just like the whole fantasy idea. It's just very magical. So that is my cover page. So for my monthly tracker, and yeah, so I usually put my monthly tracker and my habit tracker together. So this was also something quite different for me, as I put the numbers and the days in the middle of the page, whereas I usually put it on the leftmost side of the page. So for this, I just wanted to keep it a little bit simple and just had some leaves on each side, and then these leaves are a little bit hollow, and I wanted to sort of emulate the feel of old feather like leaves, sort of. I don't know, it was one of the type of leaves that I've seen when I was looking at different Pinterest pictures. So I'm not entirely sure what they're called, but I feel like they give off the old Fairytale look, kind of, so I decided to stick with that. And at the bottom of the page, I have my goals and my legends, and I just tried to make, or I tried to use cursive throughout this entire page, as you will see. And then after that, I started to deck it with some gold flakes, just because I thought that the black was a little too plain. And so when I actually put the gold in, it made it a little bit brighter, but even after then, I still thought it was a little bit bland. So you'll see in the flip through that I actually put some, or I used the highlighter, yellow highlighter, to mark off my weekend and the Sundays. Yeah, the Sundays and the Saturdays, it's just good for divisions. So yeah, I used my Posca paint, my Posca gold paint pen, throughout this page as well as all the other pages, and I decided to stick to one type of gold so that it's a little bit more consistent, instead of like going back and forth and using like Posca and then my Sakura Jelly Roll. I felt like this Posca gold paint pen was a better fit and better suited to the Fairytale theme. And so that was my habit tracker. Pages are my social and my one doodle a day. So for these two, I honestly just went with some sort of border that I have seen in all my reference pages. Honestly, it really does help to just have some sort of reference, and a lot of them were really very intricate, and so I just tried to keep them as simple as I could, because I didn't want to put in too much work into all the borders for one specific page, and I had to do this for like different pages or multiple pages. So just a little trick. I mean, you don't need to be as accurate unless that's the look you're going for, just as long as it gives you the effect of whatever it is, whatever theme that you were looking at, wanting to do, that should be good. And again, your bullet journal is for you, so you can make it as complicated and as simple as you like. And for this page, I decided to just keep it pretty simple and pretty minimal and just honestly just functional. And that's how I would like to use my bullet journal. Again, you do you. So yeah, I just used a border for my social and kept it, or had two separate boxes for my Instagram and my YouTube, as those are my main socials that I really try to track. I mean, you can do this for others as well. You can spread it out through two spreads instead of just one, and you can use other shapes other than boxes if that was something that worked for you. And again, yeah, I'm just using my gold Posca paint pen to add some little glitter. Well, not glitter, this is not glitter, it's gold, throughout the page, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And then for my one doodle a day, you could see the outline on the side. I tried to, I don't think I really had any, I actually don't know what I was going for. Honestly, I just winged it, and I think I just wanted to create some sort of intricate, swirly design that looked complicated, but actually was not complicated. And so I just tried to keep it symmetrical as much as I could, just to give that sort of illusion. And then just added some gold on the borders on the side, little dots here and there. I didn't want to overwhelm the page, but yeah, so that's the finished spread. So my next spreads are my finance tracker and my workout tracker. So for these, I sort of I want to say I inverted the pages, or at least the borders, whereas in the previous page, the One Doodle Day, my border was literally just in the middle, and then in here, my border was pretty much all around, but it's more simple, I guess. Honestly, I don't think that's correct. I think what I wanted to do with these pages was, since these are trackers that I use on, or that takes up an entire page, I just kept it pretty simple and just did borders around. So yeah, it's a pretty simple page. Finance and workout, they're pretty much more functional rather than more decorative pieces. Okay, so and this page is the meat, I would like to say, of my bullet journal spread. It's, I think, the most complicated spread that I've ever done for this, for this particular month. And this is my brain dump page. So as you've noticed, all the other pages were pretty simple and very minimal, and so I thought that it was good to have some sort of a centerpiece, if you will, where I went all out. And so this is actually my brain dump page, and I decided to draw and paint the Ink Death cover page. And Ink that, if you didn't know, I should have probably started with that. Inkheart is by Cornelia Funk, so that is my main theme. It's actually a story. It's a 3-part series, I believe, if I remember correctly. And it was a story that I absolutely loved when I was a kid. It was very magical, and it was really about merging the real world with the mystical world, as they called it, kind of like Chronicles of Narnia, if you've heard of that. So it's a more shorter, condensed, and I feel more lighthearted version of Chronicles of Narnia, but it has the same concept of, mixing the real world with a behind-the-scenes world, another magical world. And so things that happen in that world, can cross over into our real world. So it's a very it was a very entertaining series. If you've never read it, I highly suggest that you do if you're into all of that. And yeah, so that is pretty much Ink Death or Inkheart. I absolutely loved this story, and I just made me believe in magic and just, having a lot of hope and a lot of faith as well. I think it's a very positive type of a book without being too dramatic. So if that is your jam, then this is totally the book for you. So back to the spread. I just tried to recreate it, but the cover page was actually a lot more intricate than what I've decided to draw. I didn't really want to take up too much time, because I believe this took me probably a day to actually just paint it. Like, the actual drafting with my pencil was probably half an hour, or something like that. And then the actual painting took about roughly an hour. I think it's an hour footage. And then I wanted to really go all out, and so I took out my Coliro metallic watercolors and decided to use that across the entire page, just to make it stand out and more cohesive compared to the rest of the pages. As you've noticed, they were all gold, so I thought it's probably good to have gold in here too. Plus, that's also how the cover page looks like, so I think it just fit really, really well. So yeah, this is how it turned out. I thought it was really pretty, very colorful, and stay true to the cover as much as I could. And last but not the least, I decided to go for a Dutch door for my weeklies, for all 4 weeklies, yes, and I did them all in one go because I knew that I was going to be busy for February, because I did get a new job, so I wanted to keep it simple and quick, easy, and something that I didn't need to worry about for the rest of the month. So yeah, I decided to go and do them all in one go. And so the idea that I had was to create a little mini booklet in my journal, and I actually got this idea from Plant-Based Bride. If you've seen one of her videos where she did a old vintage book, and she had the book within a book, which is very meta, but it was a pretty cool concept, and so that was kind of what I wanted to do in here as well. And also, honestly, it was just much easier to have like the same borders for the entire book, and just have the booklets to sort of, have the same type of design. So yeah, and I just put tabs on all of them and had this number to signal the weeks. I try to make it as fancy, and then put week in gold just to make it look a little nicer. So the border is really more about like a forest type with some gold plant or flower. I wasn't really entirely sure what it was. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and this is my flip through. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you wanted to see how it all looked after I filled it all out, I believe I added a little bit of pieces here and there that I decided after filming. So if you wanted to check that out, come and follow me at Ariza_designs for more content, and I'm more active on there. So yeah, and thank you again for watching if you reached this part, or if you reached to the end, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.